Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We have a question for Chris from Stephen, not Stefan. Okay, I went to Franklin. All right, that's my excuse. For all you Franklin folks out there, I don't mean anything by that, but I can say it because I went there. Stephen, you have a question for Chris. What's your question?
Yeah. How is Chris getting the line halfway down a plastic worm?
You heard that, didn't you?
I could barely hear it. But
okay,
I
so
think I did.
Stephen, thank you for your question. It's a good one. His question was, of course, everyone, how is he threading that? Thank you, Stephen, for the phone call. We appreciate it and the question. How do you like, are you just using an old school worm needle, or are you running something different to do that?
Those Procure bait threader needles work awesome.
With the little holes on the end.
With the little hole on the end,
okay.
yeah. That's what I use to thread my worms. I do it all at home.
Yeah.
You can keep one with you in your tackle bag and on the river, but do it all at home so it's all pre-set up so you don't have to mess with it. Yeah.
Messing around with tying up
You should be going out there with your all your stuff on a roll like this already pre-done instead of doing it on the river.
Find yourself a fishing board and just go with it. Load it up and don't mess around with it on the river. I can't stand doing that. But good question, though. Good question. Yeah. So it's just a worm needle. There's lots of different threaders that are out there. Some that have a little hole on the end of them, whatever it is that you want to do, and different things that you can make yourself if you wanted to, but that's the way to go. You can find them at Fisherman's Marine. They're in a little pack of 2. Pretty easy to find.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you got your plug box in, 2 of them. Are these, now first question, these are the plugs that you're fishing with your clients?
Yes.
In these 2 boxes?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get a shot.
And some others, but yes, these are my fishers.
First thing I got to go to, number 1, is mag lips. Are you a 3.5 or a 3.0 person?
I'm primarily 3.5 when I'm using a mag lips.
Okay.
I do and have had success with the 3.0s.
Okay.
They're a little touchier than the 3.5s. You got one that's tuned, and most of them are tuned right out of the package. It's just going to work good all the time and stay down in all kinds of different water speeds. The 3.0s tend to work better in a little bit more specific water currents and speeds, a little slower, I like. I've put the 3.5s in some fast water, and sometimes they roll over.
Absolutely.
I should say the 3.0s.
Sure.
The 3.5s, they're almost always just, they dig, they stay down, they do what they're supposed to do. The 3.0s are a little touchy.
That's an inherent thing with the way that these plugs run and hunt. They are a skip beat action for a reason. You get fast current 3.0 or the 3.5. You get that kick is going, it's going, and it gets that just the right push, and it'll come all the way over. A lot of times, just leave it alone. It's going to just settle itself back down. 3.0s, though, not so much because they are so much smaller. They will sometimes tend to come straight to the surface and stay there. But now that's maglets, right? You've got all of them in here. You have been known and been on my show years ago when we were talking about the K11X, and no, they are no longer a sponsor of the show, but they're still one of my favorite plugs of all time. Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you. Yeah.
And these, and Carmen, bless his soul, with these K11Xs. Deadly. Is there a time that you might prefer this over, say, a different plug?
If you ask me what my primary 2 plugs are that I fish, it's a 3.5 mag lips or it's a K11X quick fish.
Okay.
And I start fishing the K11X quick fishes as the water drops and gets lower.
Okay.
They don't have a rattle in them, and I'm in either I like a rattle or I don't like a rattle.
Sure.
When we start getting into clear water conditions, especially if the water's a little on the warmer side, I don't want rattles.
Sure. A little less intrusive?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not, because you get 3 rattles down there rattling around, and that's a lot of noise to the fish.
It really is.
You know, noise really carries under the water a lot. So I want to be a little less intrusive when the water clears up or it's fairly warmer temperatures. Cold water, I think you can get away with more. You can get away with a bigger, brighter profile, and you can get away with a noisier plug because the fish are cold and they're kind of hunkered down, and it takes a lot more to excite them and throw them over that threshold, as we say, and get them to bite.
Gotcha.
But as you look in my box, you see some old school size 3, size 30 hot shots. This is my probably all-time best plug of all time, which is that's a K10 quick fish. That is a very touchy quick fish, but of all the ones I've owned over the years, this sucker it's built so perfectly that it runs so true and it catches fish. I mean, I've caught 30-pound Chinook on that thing.
Wow.
As you can see, the color's coming off of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still, I get it out once in a while, even though it is like my deadliest fish catcher of all time. Every once in a while I put it on, but surprisingly I don't fish it that much anymore.
Well, of course you don't. You don't want to lose it.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to go down in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. My Hall of Fame is stuck in fish's face somewhere, or log somewhere.
And they end up that way.
Yes,
yeah.
they do. Tie that up with, 20-pound fluoro, and maybe you get a little bit more time out of it. But if I don't point this out, I'm not going to say that this is one of the most underrated plugs. I'm just going to say it's one of those plugs that isn't talked about as much as it may have been, when it was more popular, I guess would be a way to put it, but the Tad Poly. Finicky little things, some of them, but you've got quite a few of them here. You are definitely still fishing Tad Polys.
There was a period of, we're talking 20 years ago, and when I was doing a lot more plug-in, that the Tad Poly was my #1 fish killer.
Yeah.
And a very, very good plug. And I don't actually consider them touchy.
Really?
When you get... Now, they have that metal eye there that you can easily bend one way or the other, but it doesn't come out of tune easy. Whereas like hot shots with an ice screw, ice screw can turn so easily even on a fish or a snag or whatever, and you're always having to tune them. But and
this one's caught at least 3 on this little cop car right here.
Yeah.
Because he's got it marked with 3 little notches on there. But these are all plugs that, if you're a plug fisherman, you're going to have this kind of an assortment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have
your arsenal.
Your arsenal. You're going to have different versions. Again, but you got to go back to. I got to go back to this question for all of us, right? You've got so many choices. What makes you say, well, okay, well, forget the more modern style, I guess. Although Quick Fish is by no means modern, but when you might go to the Tad Poly as one of the other style plugs,
I'll often go to get out one of my old Tad Polys when the fishing's tough. And we're like, there's fish here. I know there's fish here. We're not getting bites, or we're getting very few bites. Maybe I'll get something out that I have a lot of confidence in, that I just know, like, where to go. There.
Oh,
I'll go get this one out. Okay, we're going to put that one on. And it's always going to be this rod that goes off.
Right.
When I put that one on.
Now, we're almost out of time, but I know you wanted to make one final point about your setup for your bobber dogging setup. Yeah,
here's a great tip and a great use, another use for the B&R T-stop. If you're a bobber dogger, you know that you lose bobbers once in a while when you break off, and then you got to go chase your bobber down. One way to save your bobber is to put one of these large-sized T-stops just above your knot on either your bumper or on your main line, so that when you break off, if you do break off at the swivel, that T-stop is there to save your bobber. Yeah. So at least you're reeling in your bobber.
Right.
It doesn't work all the time, but I'd say it works 75% of the time. It saves you a bobber. So that's a great another use for the B&R T-stop right there.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, they're not all that expensive, but they are certainly not inexpensive anymore for a float. You don't want to lose them if you don't need to lose. It's a great tip. Well, thanks, man. I mean, I know our time's always short. 3 segments goes by. That was 33 minutes of airtime. Goes by just like that. But if I don't ask, I'm going to get in trouble. Going forward through January, February, and March, any room for folks that want to get out and do some fishing with you? Yeah, I do have a few single seats open here and there, actually coming up late in the week this week, and I just lost a trip to a guy that's got a retirement party the 21st. I got to fill now. I rescheduled him for later in the season. But, so yeah, I got a little bit of openings. Hey, what's going on is Springer trips are getting booked. People are booking like never early
before.
For that.
They haven't even announced the season yet, and I'm starting to fill up my Springer season already.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Well, I tell you what, if you get the chance to go Springer fishing, sure, right. But steelhead fishing, I'd give him a call. We've been showing his info. Chris, as always, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Always
you stay with me though,
here.
because I'm going to come back. We're going to wrap things up and give you an idea what we got going on for tomorrow. It's a good one. We'll be right back.